It's Thursday, October 26, 2023. Really quickly, I want to apologize. I used a wrong name yesterday in the video when I was describing Noah's Ark. For some reason, I used Moses describing Noah's Ark. My bad. I must have had an Uncle Joe moment, but I was watching some videos, what's occurring in the Middle East, and there was a report about a U.S. destroyer days ago shooting down some missiles. The destroyer was sitting in the Red Sea, so the Red Sea made me think about Moses, the parting of the Red Sea, and all of that. So I had Moses in the back of my mind while I was talking about Noah's Ark, and unfortunately I used the name Moses instead of Noah. I know the difference. Noah started in Genesis. I believe Moses came in the book of Exodus. 10 Commandments, parting the Red Sea, leading Israel out of Egypt. So I guess I had a little bit of a slip yesterday. You know, it happens. Sometimes you get a number wrong, a name wrong, a statistic wrong, a day wrong. It happens. I apologize. It must have been 100 people that called me out on this. So again, must have been an Uncle Joe moment. I apologize. And look, if I get caught in something where I make a mistake, I'm more than happy to come out and make it right and apologize for that. So my bad. Again, I'm thinking about something else, you know, regarding the Red Sea and Moses, and got my names mixed up there, so I apologize. But getting onward today with today's video, I want to talk about a few things. And first off, most of you know what happened in Maine, just this absolutely horrific event that just took place. And I'm watching this last night, like many of you, and I'm just completely shocked. The evil that is walking the face of the earth, not just in other countries, but right here in America. We don't know much about the person, the individual they're looking for right now. But what I found interesting today is they shut down all the banks in Maine. And I know that they shut down a lot of the schools. And I'm thinking, this is one individual who did this. And it shut down schools, it shut down banks. And you have to think about, what if this was at a higher level? We know that there's some very serious actors here right now in this country who are attached to some very bad organizations, shall we say. Now, what if we witness a organized event, say maybe 100 bad actors, 1,000 bad actors? You quite literally would probably see the entire banking system shut down. You would see the entire country shut down just over a couple hundred bad actors. That's how fragile the system is. And you have to think, if a grid got hit, a water treatment center got hit, what would you do? How would you take care of yourself if you couldn't run to the store, if you couldn't use that plastic card to get goods, to get food? What would you do? This is becoming reality, ladies and gentlemen. And what happened last night is another reminder of what just one bad, evil person can do. Can shut down literally an entire state. We got thousands of bad actors in this country right now that will more than likely at some point shut the entire country down. Can you last a week, 2 weeks? Do you have training? Do you have the skill sets? Do you have the food, the water, the security? Do you have these things? These are the things you need to be thinking about immediately and preparing. Now, going, I'll do it next week or next month. We don't know how much time is left before we really begin to see some serious events unfold. I got off the phone about a half hour ago with Bill Holter. He's having dinner with Aaron this evening, and I was talking to both of them. And Bill Holter said he doesn't believe that we're going to get through the rest of this year, that we're going to see things implode financially by the end of this year. Now, I don't know if that is going to happen. I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball, but that's Bill Holter's belief and opinion right now. And nobody can really argue it, because you continue to watch what's happening to the markets, what's happening with these wars, and what's now happening right here in our own country. It's a sad state of affairs. Now, shifting gears here a little bit, I'm going to share a few of these articles with you. This first one from CNBC. UPS stock falls after delivery giant cuts revenue outlook. The stock was down nearly 6% today, hit a 56-year low, sitting at $138.21. The delivery giant cited global economic uncertainty as the main factor for lowering its revenue outlook. Dow Jones today was down another 251 points, NASDAQ down another 225 points, S&P 500 down 50 points. Look, maybe tomorrow something will happen and they'll get the market back up, but the 10-year bond yield, I think we're sitting around 4.85. It's still hovering close to 5%. I think it is going to go over 5%, but these markets are now beginning to realize, I think, that Mr. Jerome Powell at the Federal Reserve is not planning on cutting rates anytime soon. In fact, he's talking about another rate hike this year, keeping rates higher for longer, and the markets kept ignoring this, ignoring this, and ignoring this, and now I think the reality has hit the markets that Jerome Powell is going to continue raising and keeping rates higher. United States GDP grew at a 4.9% annual pace in the third quarter, better than expected. Now that sounds like great news, but let's break it down a little bit. Most of this GDP number is because of the billions and billions and billions of dollars we are spending on these wars. You look at personal savings in America right now, $776.9 billion in the third quarter. That is down from $1.04 trillion in savings in the second quarter. Think about how much money the average consumer is burning through right now to go from over $1 trillion to $776 billion. I'm looking at this GDP number. Nobody believes this stuff anymore. What about the $2+ trillion deficit we are now running right now? But we're all supposed to jump up for joy because the GDP number is 4.9%. Nobody is believing this stuff. I'm reading more and more comments down below in this comment section, on The Hedge, on CNBC, and other sites. And it's refreshing to see that more and more people are waking up to the fact that these numbers are a joke. Nobody is believing the inflation numbers, the unemployment numbers, the GDP numbers, the housing numbers. Nobody's believing this anymore. And so people are beginning to realize that all this is a big, fat lie. How the long-awaited recession became a rich session for America's wealthy. Sticky inflation is causing more white-collar layoffs. Surging interest rates, putting pressure on higher income earners. And we're going to watch a lot of these people, the wealthier, the white-collar types, the wealthier, people in the top 10%, really get hurt when these markets really begin to collapse and accelerate downward. A lot of these people have money, their money, a lot of money in the stock market, and they just believe, as they were told, that the housing market would go up forever, and now it's not. Now we're witnessing a housing collapse. Sales have collapsed, ladies and gentlemen. Let's be honest. The housing market has collapsed. Commercial real estate sales and prices have collapsed. Bond market is getting absolutely brutalized, and it's a matter of time. Now, we're seeing some bleeding now in the stock market, but it is a matter of time before we see the stock market get absolutely crushed, and it is going to wipe out a lot of wealth when that happens. This group of people is now beginning to lose a lot of money in these markets, and they're going to be a lot more cautious right now about where they're spending their money. If you look at Porsche, the Porsche auto company, Porsche stock is down almost 16% year to date. Mercedes down 10.3% year to date. People with money are beginning to pull back. They're pulling back on the Rolex watches, the diamond jewelry, the automobiles, housing. They're pulling back, and this is not a good sign for the economy, but it is another indicator of what is happening to the economy. It is slowing down. Jerome Powell and the Fed, they are trying to slam the brakes on the economy. They haven't quite done it yet because they need to raise interest rates much higher in order to do it. They're not telling you and I what the real inflation numbers are. Inflation is not 3.7 or 3.9%, wherever it is today. It is not. We know it's much higher. That's why these rate cuts, or excuse me, these rate hikes are not having any effect. to slowing down inflation. Inflation's not slowing down. It's still here. And in many areas, it's going up. So the rate hikes are not having the desired results or desired effects that the Fed was hoping, because the Fed is not admitting what real inflation is. They say you have to be 2 points above. Interest rates must be 2 points above the inflation number in order to beat down inflation. We're not even close. Here's an interesting one today on the hedge. Pending home sales unexpectedly rise off record lows in September. Last month, remember this though, these are pending home sales. And last month, 16% of homes that were under contract, pending home sales, fell through. How many of these homes right now that we're reading about pending home sales rose a whopping 1.1% month over month? How many of these homes are going to fall apart, fall through? And then next month we'll get a revision for these home sales. So again, pending home sales unexpectedly rise off record lows in September. Wait till next month when we get the revision. And I believe that that number will probably be in the negative. So very, very interesting. Again, some of this stuff, when you watch it on the television, when you read it, it sounds like great news. But in all reality, when you have last month 16% of homes under contract falling through, and it just seems like all this stuff, there's always a revision, and all these numbers, we always get a revision. The revision is always down. So it'll be very, very interesting to see next month where these numbers come in. You know, people continue to ask, when are prices going to crater? And I believe that right now you're seeing many parts of the country where prices have definitely slowed down, other parts of the country where they're going down, some parts of the country they're going up, but very slightly. But for the most part, prices have leveled off or are coming down slowly. But when do we really begin to see things crater? When do we begin to see the real acceleration down? When do we begin to see some deals? And you know, right now it's all about patience. It's about being patient. But when unemployment explodes, when people can't rent out those Airbnbs, and when bankrupts continue to rise, you're going to see this explosion in the real estate market, or this reckoning in the real estate market. So again, unemployment, which I do believe is going to explode. Bankruptcies are going to explode. And you're going to have a very, very bad situation here in the short-term rental market, where people who bought multiple homes cannot rent these homes out, have their own mortgage to deal with on top of their 3 short-term rental mortgages. They're going to have to make some serious decisions here. And the decision that they're more than likely going to make is they're going to have to sell these homes in order to save their main home, or they're going to have to let these homes go back to the bank. So continue to watch it, ladies and gentlemen. These are really fascinating times, very exciting times. You need to be preparing though. You need to be protecting yourself. Here's one from the hedge. Continuing jobless claims jump to highest since May. The jobless claims, the numbers came in today at 210,000. The previous week was 200. But think about this, every week it's literally 200,000 people. That's, you know, nearly 1 million people a month filing jobless claims. How in the world can they tell you that the housing market is doing well, that the consumer's strong, that the economy's resilient? It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And while all this is happening, we have a society now that is so lazy, so unprepared. It's unlike anything I've ever seen in my life. And I was reading this article on the hedge today, talking about a demoralized and lazy people. And it was talking about the state of the country, and it was asking employers what they're seeing and what type of people they're hiring. Can they hire people? And the employers say that they're saying this repeatedly, that they might be hiring people with credentials, but these people cannot finish the task. They say that people lack dedication. These are people they're hiring or looking to hire. They lack dedication. They don't have pride in what they do. They slog to the office when convenient and look for every excuse not to be there. They use every sick day. Many of them said that we cannot find workers. The ones that we do don't know how to do anything. I mean, wow. Unbelievable. It says here in the article, this is why bars and restaurants close so early. They don't have people who want to work. And that's interesting because so many bars and restaurants right here in the Coachella Valley, I mean, restaurants closing at 8 o'clock at night, 9 o'clock at night. I mean, a lot of people go out to dinner. At least, you know, I used to go out to dinner at 8, 9 o'clock at night. No, you know, that was like not a big thing. Now, these places are closing at 8 or 9 o'clock at night. That's unbelievable. Why can't you get clean sheets at your hotel? You now have to call and request it, and you may not get clean sheets the same day. You may have to wait a couple days before you actually get somebody to come up there and service your room. They don't have enough people. Nobody wants to work. You call an establishment. I know you've all done this. You call an establishment, nobody answers the phone. It just rings and rings and rings. Nobody answers the phone. So we are now in a time where quite literally everything is broke. And I don't see things getting fixed anytime soon. Now, shifting gears here a little bit, a very interesting article today on Kitco. It's titled, U.S. consumers selling their gold to make ends meet, Fed unlikely to get inflation under control. This was interesting. Consumers are taking advantage of the higher gold prices. As I make this video, I think we're sitting at about $1,995 per ounce. So we're literally about $75 from the all-time high. And so people are taking advantage of this, and they're cashing in their old broken jewelry. Maybe jewelry they're no longer wearing, discarded broken jewelry. So they take it to these gold and silver places where they melt it down, they weigh it, and they pay you by gram. House of Kahn Estate Jewelers, based in Chicago, said that they're seeing a lot of traffic in their store selling their old jewelry to make mortgage payments. They need money. They're looking for extra income, but instead of going out and getting a side hustle, they're just trying to find all the old broken jewelry or old jewelry around the house and sell it. Think about this. They're saying that they're using the money to make mortgage payments. Now, it goes on to say, back in March, they were taking the money from the old jewelry to invest in the stock market. Wow, how things have changed. Amazing, isn't it? So people go, well, you can't eat by owning gold. Well, apparently you can pay your mortgage payment by selling your old gold jewelry. See, what you do is you take it to one of these gold dealers where they melt it down and they buy it by the gram and they give you US dollars. So in return, you can take that money and you can pay down your mortgage or your rent, or you can go to the grocery store and buy food. Now, I highly advise that you don't get into this position. You don't ever want to sell your gold or silver to make a house payment or to have to go to the grocery store. But if you need to, you have it for emergency. But I would avoid this at all costs. I would go and get multiple side hustles. I would do anything at all costs not to use my gold or silver to have to feed myself or to make a mortgage payment. But worst case scenario, if there's no other way to do it, at least you have the gold and silver for emergency. That is what it's for. But think about the emergencies that are coming a year from now. It's going to get much, much worse. Here's one from CNBC. A credit card Christmas. Taking on shopping debt carries more risk this holiday season. Now, the average credit card right now, the average credit card rate right now is above 24%. If you're talking about a retail credit card, it's over 28%. So the average credit card rate over 24, the average retail credit card, one of these store cards like Academy Sports, over 28%. So what happens when shoppers holiday bills come due and they can't pay. What's going to happen? Consumers already have a massive debt load. Student loan repayments have begun. We have interest rates continuing to rise, and we have credit card delinquency rates at the highest we've seen since the last financial crisis. And yet consumers continue to defy the gloom and doom. And people are they're gonna get themselves in such a bad place here, ladies and gentlemen, such a bad place. You do not want to be heading into a depression, first off, being out of shape, overweight, or having your credit destroyed, or holding massive amounts of debt, or having no capital put away. These are some of the things you don't want to be doing as we head into 2024, even the end of this year. As Bill Holter said, he thinks things are going to erupt in markets this year. And watching the stock market today, really, really struggling yet again. This thing, I think, is much more fragile than anybody believes. Now, I want to close on this last story. This from ABC News. It's all over the internet. This happened in Los Angeles. I believe it was yesterday. A gentleman driving an Alfa Romeo four-door sedan lands up getting in an accident, but it wasn't a real accident. It was some thieves in a car that hit his Alfa Romeo, causing him to pull over. They did substantial damage to his car, pulled over. He thought it was just an accident. They rushed up to his car with hammers and a crowbar. The gentleman gets out of his Alfa Romeo, hands up, falls on his knees, hands up, and they rob him. They take whatever they took out of his car. They probably followed him maybe from an Apple store, from the mall, or maybe it was a Rolex store. It didn't say. But they said that they obviously had followed him. And so this gentleman, again, falls on his knees, hands up, begging for his life, and they took whatever they took out of his car. And then jump back in their vehicle. Oh, by the way, there's another gentleman who pulls over and films this on his phone, stands there the whole time and films the whole crime taking place, films it. Just a civilian pedestrian motorist who just pulls over and films this whole thing. So doesn't do anything, doesn't get involved. Okay, I don't blame him, but again, nobody is coming to save you, ladies and gentlemen. People may pull over and watch you get robbed. They may watch you have your life taken. They're going to film it. They're going to watch it, but they're not going to step in and do anything about it. So now we have people being victimized on highways, interstates here in California. This happened on I-10. So now we have people being robbed on interstates here in California. What's next? This is absolutely incredible. Tortoise over here making some noise, but absolutely incredible. And to me, it's even incredible that somebody just pulled over and filmed the whole thing. So obviously, it's probably good that he did, because maybe he got a license plate. Maybe they've got some evidence they can work with. But, you know, I don't know, 40, 50 years ago, I don't think people would have just pulled over and took pictures. I think people would have taken a lot more serious type of action if they saw somebody just being robbed on the side of the highway. But again, it's a reminder to all of you that nobody's coming to save you. Now, what if this escalated? What if this gentleman had maybe young kids in the car? What if they took his kids? I mean, this could have been much, much worse in a different situation, different scenario. But I'm going to remind everybody, from what we saw happen in Maine last night to what happened on Interstate 10 in California, in LA County, with people now being victims on the freeway, be careful. Be extremely careful. I would be very cautious of being in large crowds now. Very cautious when driving, especially if you're leaving a store like an Apple store. You know, maybe they know that you just purchased a $3,000 laptop, or a $5,000 laptop, or a $7,000 laptop. You never know who's watching you. You never know who is following you. So have that head on a swivel. And if you have the licensing to protect yourself with your tools, you should be doing that. You shouldn't be leaving home without it. So again, another reminder to all of us why we really need to be paying attention and why we should not be complacent. Have a wonderful evening. God bless every one of you. Please like, share, and subscribe. And yes, it was Noah that built the ark. It was Moses that parted the Red Sea. Thank you so much for reminding me. God bless.